This episode brought to you by Fortress Building Products.
The ultimate deck podcast. Need a show about outdoor living? This is where it's at with your hosts, Shane Chapman and Way Laurent. Thank you for tuning in. Now let the show begin. Yeah. The ultimate deck podcast. Let's go.
Live from Regina, Saskatchewan, we got the A-team here. Wade's back in the house. Finally, again, joining us.
Down.
Bryce is here too.
Woo, woo, woo.
All three of us. And Jason Meier from Fortress Building Products. How are you, Jason?
I'm doing very well.
Welcome to the Queen City.
Excited. The Queen City.
The Queen City, yeah.
Why is it the Queen City?
Regina.
Oh, good God, man. You're getting deep right away. I don't know. Something to do with the royalty.
I think there was a queen named Regina or something like that.
Regina.
Except they said it Regina. I don't know
Regina.
I don't know at what meeting at City Council they're like, you know what we should do? How about Regina?
How about
How about we
Regina?
say this differently?
Right.
That sounds a little
calling
funny though,
her-
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, but could make for a good joke for the next 130 years. So there it is. I hope that answers your question sufficiently.
Did.
You did a little bit of touring. We went out last night. Tried to find at least one restaurant that was open on a Monday after COVID.
Nothing.
Harder than you'd think it might be.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Where'd you guys end up?
So first of all, I texted Josh at Homestead and said, you got room at 6 o'clock? He's like, today? And I was like, yeah, today. Oh, never mind. It's Monday. Right. You're not open Mondays. He's like, and then I was like looking up and I was like, the Willow, we'll go do the Willow. And he's like, just pick the place with the best scenery. I was like, it's the Willow. We'll go do the patio at the Willow over the lake.
Yeah.
Perfect. Closed Monday. So then we went downtown. We tried to find a couple places downtown. They were either closed or like dead.
Empty.
Oh, yeah.
And we're like, he's like, you want to just go to the keg? Yep, let's just go to the keg. It's open.
Whoa.
And then,
Oh, it's a local owner.
so we went to the keg. We sat there. Then we're like, had our appetizers and a couple of mojitos. And then I'm like, let's go down the street and go to Bushwhacker. We'd already tried to go to Rebellion, closed.
Yep, closed
I was like,
on Monday.
Bushwhacker will be open for sure.
Yep.
Bushwhacker closed.
What?
Yeah, man.
Why is everybody
We
closed?
I think it's just like
Mondays.
reopening happened a week ago, and these places probably aren't staffed up to be open 7 days a week yet.
No,
again, or
probably
something,
not,
right?
yeah.
So they're like, they chose Monday as the day; it would be the slowest day. So we like started walking back, and I was like, okay, one last shot. I'm gonna call Warehouse. We won't walk there because it's a couple blocks away. I'll call
Warehouse
Yep, we're
Brewing,
open.
yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Off to Warehouse Brewing. Had a couple of beers there. That's a great little spot,
It
by
is
the
a
way.
fantastic spot.
In the old Weston's building? Is
Yeah,
that what it's
that's
in?
right.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's got like the inside is like sweet, and they got the little overhead doors they roll up, so the
Nice.
inside becomes outside, and then they have a sweet patio that they didn't buy from us.
Redo it, right?
Like a bunch of Treks in there and some
Oh,
Regal Rail, and I
yeah.
was like,
Where'd you get this?
looks like my drinks are free tonight.
It's always interesting. We show up and look down. What's going on? That's what I
He does that everywhere.
really.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's
closer.
Yeah, you get
I asked the girl, I was like, so where'd you get your deck from? She's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Like, and she didn't really want. She
I
didn't
just
care
got
about much.
rehired.
Well, she's
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I just started a week ago again. So, anyways, great little spot. We'll have to hit it up again when things get going again and it's busier. Because if that place was packed, it'd be a great little vibe there.
It was.
And today, you were like, last night, you're like, what about this stadium deal? Like, can we go check that out? So we did a little stadium tour today.
Oh, you actually got in?
We did because my sister-in-law
got
like does
connections.
events. So I
Right.
called her. Or I didn't call her. I texted her. I was like, any chance? Like, I don't imagine they're doing tours right now. She's like, no, they haven't since before COVID. And I was like, okay, but like,
But now that COVID's gone,
could we
do it?
Get in there? And she's like, sure. Everywhere except for player areas because they're in the bubble.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to go where the players go. No dressing room tours, no like players room areas, stuff, whatever. But we were able to get in the stadium and go to, I don't know, we went to like a bunch of different viewpoints and all the
Yeah,
suites.
alumni spots.
Oh, yeah.
Couple, but and then we went all the way up to the, I don't know, was it 500 level? Is that what they call it?
Yeah, I think so. The
Went
top.
right to the top because I'm always interested when you're in a stadium like that to look down.
Yep.
And it's 45, 50 degree angle.
Yep.
Just sitting there. Can only imagine having a couple of pops and then getting up. in
Slippery.
the fourth quarter.
Diet Coke.
Slippery stair.
Yeah. So a cool vantage point from up there, though. I calculated probably 9 stories above field level because field level is
Below
3
the
stories
street,
down.
yep.
Yeah.
Street level, at that point, you're 5 stories up. You're on the 5th floor.
Right.
So it must be about 8, 9 stories up
Yeah.
that you are there. So I was like, holy smokes.
I saw
Because you're 5
Manitoba.
stories up and then we walked
Nice.
the last
Yeah,
one.
you looked over, saw Manitoba. You're like, there's Saskatoon. There's Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I think I could see Moose Jaw from here.
You could if it wasn't for the smoke in the air from all the
right.
fires.
That's right.
So he's experienced Regina a little bit, and we're going to head up to Saskatoon tomorrow and experience a little bit of Saskatoon too.
Bridge City.
Yeah.
It's a bridge city. Why
Correct.
is that? Because there's bridges.
Yeah.
Because there's lots
So
of
the
bridges.
Queen used to be here. They call it the Queen. And then
Yeah.
they have bridges in Saskatoon. They call it the bridge.
Yeah,
bridge city.
we're real creative thinkers around
Like
here.
Chicago, it's windy there.
So they called it the Windy City.
Like
And it's like, so it's like, so they got the most bridges of anywhere? Nope. No, not the,
just in
just more than
Saskatchewan.
Regina.
They just got a few.
It's like, it's just Saskatchewan's bridge city.
Exactly.
So, anyways, we're here today because you wanted to talk about Regal Ideas railing, right? Is that
That was what?
we just wanted an independent
Oh,
perspective
okay.
on Regal Ideas.
Right.
Right.
Bryce
No.
is like,
I didn't know that's what we were doing today.
He's like, he's editing the title right now.
Oh, no.
Shoot. No, we're here because we want to talk about steel framing again, because this season I feel like has been the coming out party for steel framing. It's been like, you guys have had your product out for a couple of years, but this year is when it's really started to gain traction because of a number of reasons. One, costs are becoming a little bit more affordable. Two, lumber prices were just like
crazy.
like we've never seen before. And I think 3, people are getting a little bit more accustomed to it. They've heard it, they've seen it out there a bit. Now they're getting curious and they want to start using it. It's, they're figuring it out a bit. So it's becoming more commonplace. However, almost all contractors that are building decks are used to be like working with lumber. That's when you build a deck, you go get pressure treated lumber and you slap it up and you make it happen. Why would somebody go with steel as opposed to using the lumber that they're so accustomed to using? What are the advantages?
Let me lose my cheat notes.
Perfect. Just read things one at a time,
One by
point
one.
form.
Exactly. So everybody knows
This will be great.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think ultimately, the bare bones of it, it's stronger. If we start with just that in mind and just say that, look, it spans longer because it's 10 times the structural strength of wood. Tested. When you have that kind of capacity to start with, you're like, okay, that starts the conversation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, now, what else do I need to know? Where do you
go?
And to my notes, it's just these decks nowadays are not the 10 by 10s. You see these outdoor oases being built that are 1,500, 2,000 square feet, some of them.
Yep.
Just ridiculous. And being able to support that takes a lot of extra lumber, a lot of extra planning. And if you can go and walk into a scenario like that and have a steel structure that supports it up to 200 PSF, the live load.
Yep.
I mean, you're throwing kitchens on it, you're throwing hot tubs, you're throwing extra roofs, and that took a lot of extra planning and extra material in the past, and now this steel has kind of opened up the eyes to say, I can really.
Yeah, because your standard goal for a deck outside is what, 45, 50 PSF?
Yeah.
That's kind of the code, right?
Yeah, yep.
Commercial is 100 pounds, and
Hot
residential
tub is 100, 125, depending on if it's 12, 16, how you're working it, everything
Yeah.
else. But
So you're coming out of the gates with 200.
yeah, you can go right to 200 and go, here, what do you think? And yeah,
Sounds pretty strong.
yeah, right.
Okay, you piqued my interest.
Sounds like that
it
thing
says
could
it,
carry
40
Wade's mom. Oh, sorry, Dad. Sorry, I'm sorry.
She's like in there too.
Yeah, she's often watching the podcast. I had to make a mom
strikes
joke,
hard.
and it wasn't going to be about anybody else's mom who I don't know.
My mom doesn't watch, so go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is the spans. One of the biggest features of the spanability is, and if that is a word or whatever.
Yep, it is now.
Yeah,
Spanability.
Happened here.
being able to span 16 feet with joists is something that wood just never. You could never do that.
Wood can't do that.
No.
Wood cannot do that.
The other thing that happened this year, which was a convenient circumstance for you, I don't know who you talked to or how you made this happen, but the Canadian Wood Council decided that they don't want people spanning posts on beams more than 8 feet with wood anymore. And so the city of Regina, at least, has adopted that. They're saying that the city of Saskatoon is going to do that, and the city of Edmonton is going to do that. And if that starts to filter across Canada and down to the US, well, there's another big advantage to going steel because of those spans. They just reduced the span of wood by like 50%, like that.
And it doesn't matter.
Was it 12 feet typically wood?
It was based on dimensional lumber and ply. And so if you had a 3-ply 2x8,
Commonly, we were doing triple 2x10s at
2x10s.
13'6".
yeah.
And so that was so going down to 8 feet is a significant reduction.
I have pictures. That's what happened. I got some.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I just-
Somebody.
Yeah, I held them on.
Somebody
held
somewhere.
them for a while.
Yeah.
Blackmail.
Now, let's talk about the advantages of going wood, going steel. We all know the struggles that we experience with wood, and I'm basically gonna give you the advantages here because I'm gonna tell you the cons of wood, and the pro is that the steel doesn't do these things. But pressure treated lumber, very well known for shrinking, for one, twisting, cracking, warping, blah blah blah. There's a lot of guys out there
inconsistent
and inconsistently
just even run
plain,
off.
yeah, like
coming out of the factory, out of the planer,
right.
Different dimensions.
Guys that build decks have all these little tips and tricks on how to try to build a flat deck with wood, because you get these 2x10s and some of them are 9 1/4 like they should be, and some are 9 3/8, and some are 9 1/8, and some are 9 1/2. Some are 9.
We swapped out some treated deck boards today in Saskatoon, where the deck board was 5 1/2 for the 16 footers, and the 12 footers were all 5.
Nailed it. We're 5?
Yep, they were 5. And I was like, nope. And he was like, mm-hmm. And he sent me a picture of it. It was like, it was a combination of plain drawing and cut, and drier than the 16s.
Wowzers.
Yep.
Multi-width, you're starting a new.
He was just like,
multi-width treated.
he was like, I'm butting them together. I just can't do this. You have to bring me something that's new. Like, you have to bring me something that's wet.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, okay.
So how does steel address those kinds of things? The warping, the cracking, the twisting, the inconsistency in sizes? Like, what are we dealing with?
Those are the tangible threats that everybody kind of sees in the market. So you eliminate the rot, the decay, the moisture absorption, the fungi, pests, weather.
Wade's a pretty fun guy.
Pretty fun
Huge
guy.
fun guy.
You'll see.
And I guess the biggest thing is they remain straight. They show up to the job site straight. When you put them up, they stay straight. And for the life of them, they stay straight.
That's huge.
Yeah, and even on the job site, if you can't get to something quick enough, weather comes in, and say a snowstorm comes in and shuts you down for a week and a half, and lumber's sitting there. That's getting weathered. It's not up. It's going to start shrinking and moving and everything else. The steel just sits there and waits. Please use me. Please use me.
That's such a great point.
And how many times I've walked through a job site, and to your point, Wade, the customer's picking up a 2x8, 2x10, and looking down it. No, not this one. All right, that one's okay.
Yeah.
Try to put that one up, and then
This one's the rim.
Go through coal.
Right, yeah. It's like, this one's the rim joist. It's got to be really good. Because that sort of sets the whole deck. From there, you can move around, right?
You should seriously go out in your yard and bring out that piece that you save out there. That
a 2x4?
Yeah, he knows exactly which one.
The 2x4 in the boneyard? Yeah. It's like people have offered to buy that. I actually won't sell it now.
You should hang it up like as a piece of art, because it's at least, and for the people at home, just imagine something like a serious hockey stick, like kids playing floor hockey in gym.
Yep.
Take that stick and they bend it and they want a big old curve.
Yep.
It's got double that curve.
Yeah,
it's a 2x4.
It's an illegal curve, that one out there.
Yeah.
You're getting 2 minutes for sure on that sucker.
Yeah.
It's the type of stick that the Russians would use in the playoffs, I think in the Olympics, I should say. Cheaters. Right?
So the deck building pros can sideline those issues, like plagued by traditional wood frame decks, because the points we put in here and that I wrote down, it's exactly what I hear the pain points. We're trying to eliminate the pain points.
The one thing that people don't talk about when they're building a deck is how long they spend sorting, stacking, dealing with planing, sanding, all the swear word that you got to do with bad lumber, right?
Cull is your boneyard is a prime example of the wood.
Yeah,
Cull, right?
yeah, exactly.
I don't see any steel there yet. So hopefully there's no steel, right? Look at that curved piece of steel.
Right, exactly.
It won't make it there. It'll be a phone call to you right away. Like, well, I can't afford to put this in the boneyard. Figure it out for me, please. But we all know, so especially with composite decking, composite, the stuff is flexible. So it's going to map itself to whatever the joists beneath it are doing. And we all have heard of people that are like, oh, my deck looks like this, wavy. And we all know why that's happening because of the lumber, whatever. But if somebody doesn't sort their lumber to begin with, that's how it gets installed. But even the guys that are doing it right and taking the time to sort their lumber, to go from the shortest to highest, and then they take a planer out and they plane down the tops to do it, and then they tape the joist so that because they just planed off the treatment, they tape the joist, they get it flat today, and then they take an Instagram video of them sliding a level across it because damn, you don't build a deck without doing that shot.
Yep.
And you brag about how flat it is today, but literally in 3 weeks, it's all for naught.
Yep.
It's going to end up looking wavy again anyway as the lumber dries out. Yep. For example, I did a job like this a few years ago, and I thought we were being smart. We actually it was a massive job, and it was all going to be Ipe, and we were starting it too late in the year and I didn't want to be out there oiling and installing Ipe in the middle of winter. So we framed it all up late fall the year before. We thought we're going to let this thing dry out and acclimatize and whatever else before we start putting the Ipe on in the spring.
Yep.
Well, the amount of work we had to do at the like when we showed back up in the spring, because the lumber, we installed it, everything was great. Stuff had shrunk so much, we were actually having to pull leg bolts back out of things, reshim things, redo all this stuff, like pop tape off, plane things down. Like we had to do it all again in a few months because of how much the lumber had shrunk, shifted, twisted, blah, 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 blah.
Not with steel.
Well, you wouldn't
You're
with
days
that, right?
ahead. Like you're like days ahead on steel.
Yeah. So it certainly combats that issue, and I think that's something that
Remember
would
that
resonate
point
with
when we're
every
coming to
contractor.
A couple questions down the road, because
Okay.
it's definitely, I mean, you're hitting all the right pain point corrections that we're trying to
Probably why I
solve.
can sell more of this than Shane.
You are the top salesperson in Saskatchewan by far.
Now, let's talk about in Canada. Like we're here in Regina and the Bridge City, some of the harshest climates known to man. Like we literally can go from like this last week we've been hitting like almost 40 degrees Celsius, which is like 110 Fahrenheit.
Yep.
But in the winter, literally in February, it can hit minus 40,
Yep.
which is minus 40 Fahrenheit. So the extremes are ridiculous. How many kids have licked your steel framing so far and had their tongues ripped off?
Oh yeah.
4.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the con.
We saved 3. The tongue on the 4th.
We left the other one as an example.
Aside from licking it potentially, how does steel hold up in these extreme climates? Because it's a real question.
Yep, absolutely, and it does. The powder coating, you're going to need to cut it. You're going to need to make sure you touch up the cut pieces, file them down. If there's scrapes or dents or whatever that may happen from junior, I got to get in there.
Yeah. Like swallow the mic.
They can't hear you.
Right out college days. When you're a radio DJ, I'm talking. What do you?
Family show.
Guys.
Family show.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like dents, scratches, they're going to happen. So touch them up. So outside of that, the powder coating and the way they make the cold rolled steel stands up to plus 40 and minus 40. You can get really, really hot, and it does get hot, and it gets really, really cold. But there's little to no movement whatsoever.
I was going to say, do you have any of the stats on like how much it changes? Somebody asked me that the other day.
Yep.
And I was like, oh boy, less than wood.
I'm gonna get a call from an engineer soon from the city of Regina, and he's probably gonna have some of those questions. And I know that somewhere in our archives we've got that. I don't know. I don't have the exact percentages, but I know that testing wise, steel and all these steel guys, like all the companies that do cold rolled steel, will have that data as well. And I can just say, 16 gauge cold rolled steel. What do you got?
Send it to me.
We don't move it. It doesn't move. It never moves. Well, put powder coating on it, and you get extra heat, and it gets really hot. Is there a situation where you can have expansion there?
Right.
No. From what I've been told.
It's stable.
That's really good, because I was talking about that when we were talking about putting a PVC deck board on treated lumber, and I was like, it's moving, like the PVC is moving at one rate, the wood's moving at another rate, and I was like, the advantage to steel is that you remove one of those
Absolutely
equations, right? It's like now it's just because we've had screws shear off in PVC, and we've had a bunch of different conversations about is it the PVC that's moving, or is it the wood that's moving, or is it both that are moving, and that's why the screws are shearing off. And so
we've had some even experiences with to reference a decorator's decking product that has very little thermal expansion contraction.
Yes.
And so people are like, I would like to use it because my joints don't open, like my miters will stay tight.
Yes.
They use it, and the odd person is like, oh no, they did open. But typically what's happening is it's the framing drying out and pulling things apart too, right? Is a potential thing with that.
Yep.
You put it on a steel frame that's not going to have that expansion contraction, at least not to that extent. And that's your best shot at having everything kind of stay tight, is to use a frame that's going to stay stable and consistent.
So one of the reasons that Simcoe uses it, I think, is he uses it a lot anyway. But he has the decorators and has that mineral base. It doesn't shrink, doesn't move.
Yep.
I love that idea, because you have the ability to combat any issues with wood with the steel, so nothing moves.
Yeah.
So when he puts the frame together and you pop together, you're not going to get that call saying my frame moved and
my miter's
make sure.
open.
Right.
And so just to clarify, if people are wondering too, because you guys do have a decking product as well, you can use the Fortress Evolution framing with any decking product. Like it doesn't matter any composite, any PVC, any wood,
Porcelain tile.
whatever. What you put on top, it doesn't need to be married to your stuff. Like
Correct.
it can be used with anything.
The warranty is open for anything. There's a lot of a lot of application. Yeah, and I say porcelain tile. There's some pavers out there now that are like the water absorbent paver.
Yep.
Seen these technology now? It's mostly for driveways and walkways and whatnot, but I have a customer that's trying this in Toronto, and we're getting close. So the final install is probably going to be a month away or so.
Okay.
But he's putting this drainage tile on top of it. Now he's got a fiberglass underlayment that he's put on top to allow for the water to dissipate off to the side, and then much like a Trex bladder system kind of thing.
Right.
But it's specifically to let the water go, but he's putting actual tile on it. So we only had to go to 100. I think we went to 125 because he wanted some extra on it for PSF, but it wasn't really that much more in terms of, and I'm looking forward to it. Stepping on a stone deck on Evolution. It's going to be all over Instagram.
That's cool.
So yeah, and that's where you can get 24-inch on center spans. Because the actual tile itself will allow for 24-inch on certain applications.
Right. Yep.
So then you would use that's where that clear ledger board comes in when you're installing it, right?
Right.
And then you can just 24-inch on center and a lot less material. So it's cool.
It would be really good for ground level decks, right? Because you have no rot on the underside of that. You could keep it close to the ground, and then basically we could be done with patios. We wouldn't have to ever look at another one.
No one wants a patio.
Right.
So that's a good segue into how does your steel product work when we're talking about coastal areas, or if you're within a mile of the coast or you're on a dock or whatever, and it's going to get some sea and salt spray.
Salt is going to win.
Okay.
No question. Now, we first came out, it was a year warranty, like 1 year warranty within a mile of the coast.
Okay.
We've extended that to 10.
Oh, okay.
So 1 mile from the coast, either coast, we find that the East Coast has way harsher water. Like the West Coast is still salt water, but the East Coast, it's just, salt's different. I don't know.
The mafia.
Maybe.
It's the mafia.
It comes from Russia, right?
Isn't it?
They're just throwing salt
that
on
explains
people's
I'm
everything.
just putting salt in the wound there. But so we've extended that to 10-year. When you're talking about freshwater lakes and everything else,
it
just can't be sitting in it.
Okay.
Do you know what the warranty
because
is?
he just had it
With wood? Do you know what the wood warranty is?
for
Pressure treated lumber? 0.
The fact that he had
It's zero.
The fact that you need to clarify what are you actually asking here says all you need to say. So I've heard some guys. I've been in this argument because I've heard of some. I don't know if it's Yellowwood or some wood treatment manufacturers do provide a warranty. These like lifetime warranties, whatever. But come on, buddy. Like we all know that there's zero chance you're warranting that wood for its life, unless you consider its life to be 5 years.
Yeah.
Then I would believe that you might warranty that.
Lifetime
but the
warranty
fine
for
print
1
on
year.
that warranty must just like strain your eyes because there's no way. Like the issue with pressure treated, without even talking about steel, is that it doesn't last as long as it used to because the wood's harvest, it's a lot younger growth. It's not dense like it used to be. Yep. It's more susceptible to taking in water, even if it's been treated. The treatment chemicals they use is no longer as effective as it used to be when we didn't care if people also got cancer at the same time as using it. And so now we start caring about people's health.
Get you every time.
So that means the wood products just aren't lasting as long. So we're on the topic of warranty. So if you're not on the coast, like you're 10 years if you're within a mile of salt water.
Salt water.
And if you're not, if you're in the middle of Regina, what are we getting for warranty?
If you're in the Queen City beside water, you get 25 years.
25 years.
25 years.
So this is, I think, one of the biggest selling points for this stuff because the way composite and PVC manufacturers sell their decking a lot of times, like the warranty is something they major push. And the reason for it is because the wood alternatives don't have it. Like one of the big advantages if you're going to do it, like there's many, but if you're going to go from a pressure treated 5-quarter deck board to a PVC is like, this is guaranteed to last and not fade or stain for 25 years, 30, 40, 50 years in some of them.
Yep.
And so that's a major advantage. But the duh moment is always like, well, then why are we putting, like this board's going to last 40 years. Great. How long is the framing going to last? If you're lucky, 15.
So people say that all the time in the store. They they know that and they comment on it.
Yeah.
Right? But for years it's been like, well, what's the solution? What's the alternative? And some welders and fabricators have made their own steel decks. Like that has happened.
Yeah.
Seen them.
Yeah.
We have a question from TC Decks. He's asking, does that include the Great Salt Lake? Is this, so how's the warranty written? Is it like any body of salt water within a mile. Like obviously it's like,
Yeah.
you're not,
Well,
you're being inclusive with all bodies of water that have salt in them. You're not.
yeah. I don't want to just pick apart the East Coast and West Coast.
I don't want the biggest ones.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No. So good question, but yes, if you'll know if it's salt water, that's going to win, and it's probably going to be 2 years or so, and you'll start seeing like eating away if it's got spray and it's getting it. If it doesn't, you clean it all the time. You probably could get 20 years out of it.
Yeah.
So it's just that a warranty's a warranty, company's a company. You can only warranty so much, and you're trying to limit the amount of pain that people deal with, like I said, but you really can't go much more than 10 years without doing anything to a saltwater deck.
Yeah.
And it just deteriorating into nothing.
I mean, the warranties for pretty much all products when you get near the coast, saltwater are reduced because it's just harsh environments, right?
Next to the sun, salt is pretty powerful.
Yeah. I can see it now. Somebody puts in a warranty claim on a steel frame deck that's got, I don't know, maybe a little bit of rust on it by a freshwater lake, and Jason shows up with 3 bags of salt, like big ones.
Yeah. And then test the water.
Trying to modify that warranty real quick. Whoa, I just did my litmus test. Says there's salt in here.
Gonna pull out my glass of water and it's just dumping salt in. Oh yeah.
Sorry guys, looks
That's
like you're in
real
year
salty.
11. Out of luck.
This is saltier.
Looks like there's a lot of salt trucks going by here.
So are there any things we need to know about the warranty? Like here's where I get to here's where I get to grind you a little bit. 25 years, great. What's the fine print? Like are there certain exclusions that
it's transferable, which is cool.
How many
from
times?
homeowner to homeowner?
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Like indefinitely within the 25 years or
I
one or
think
two
it's
times?
only one.
Okay.
I have to go in the detail on that, and I should have known that. My bad. But I do know that I thought it was cool when we first looked at it because that's typically not the case.
That's a
Yeah.
great feature.
Most people don't know that about other warranties. That
Well,
they're
some of them don't.
non-transferable.
Some of the decking warranties don't, right?
Yeah.
Like you get, I get 25 years, and then you sell it to somebody else, and they don't get the rest of the 25 years. So that's good to know that it's
year
transferable.
one, you're like, oh, damn, 24 years are gone.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's when I show up with the calendar and the salt.
So a limit on transferring the warranty, which is pretty common when there is a transfer allowed, is one fine print.
I would call that a plus, right?
It's a plus for sure.
Yep.
Unless you're going to turn that over like
A couple of times.
a whole bunch of times.
Yeah.
But definitely a plus that it's transferable.
Yeah, the fine print is typical of any other warranty. We're not trying to be, nefarious and throw a bunch of stuff in there that mess people up. It's really just use it properly, clean it on a regular basis. I don't care where it is. It can be in the Queen City. It can be in Conestoga where my deck is. I'm cleaning it constantly. Not that I have to, but I like pressure washing it and then looking at it and taking a photo.
You just like
It's
tools.
I do.
Well, I like to fire it up and spray things.
So let's talk about that.
Sometimes I get my boots muddy just so I can do it again. That's
You should wash this off once a year, twice a year.
What is the month, the deck safety month? Is that May?
All of the months, Jason. They're all
Every month
safety
safety.
months.
When they
Nadra
but
said
yes,
the 1 month
May,
was
yes.
very important.
When
to
they
do that.
fall off in July, it's not a big
Your
deal.
decks are allowed to be unsafe every
It's
other month.
only May.
Yeah.
Just check it. So that's what I tell customers typically is when you're out and cleaning it and it's the beginning of the season, you're getting your deck stuff put out. Before you put it out, clean your deck.
Clean it all off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which should be a standard practice.
Everyone
Any
should
deck
have a
anyway.
clean deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is a family show.
I say dick.
couple more
New Zealand accent.
couple more questions from Instagram here because we got a live feed going on here. What about saltwater pools? Does that also count as a saltwater
Ooh, body of salt
body of saltwater?
Yeah, and it does, but I think there's a little limitation on that because that salt water isn't as bad.
Right.
Right. And you'll get some spray, but it wouldn't be like the ocean spray.
Yeah.
Right. So you're going to get some
the
off
waves
spray and everything
crashing
else.
down and spraying.
Much like the fence has warranties, like the fencing categories and aluminum and steel have the same kind of warranties on the saltwater pool. But the biggest thing with saltwater pool is that it's not the ocean.
Right.
I can't show up with enough of salt water to make it feel like the ocean.
You've
So
never
those
seen my
claims
kid
don't work.
splash in the bathtub. Sure, you want to see sea spray? Jeez.
Foam and everything.
Another question here. RCR Renos, I don't know if you'll know the answer to this or not, but what is the information the customer needs? Like, what do they need to provide to transfer the warranty? Do you know what that process is?
I don't know, but I believe from what
All the
my
planning in the
readings-
world for this podcast couldn't have prepared you for that question.
No, that was a pretty good question. I'm going to go visit Arcia when I get home. We're going to have a discussion.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for really showing me up.
No, I believe it's simply you have to have proof of purchase and where it was done. Like if you do it yourself, then wherever you bought it, you'll have the date and stamp and all that stuff.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's basically what we at Fortress would need. We're trying to make this as seamless as possible. And our claims department, this is a big plug to them. They're phenomenal. Like, I call them up. There was a couple of posts just recently on the railing side. I'm missing some skirts, and it's from Garland. And within 3 days, the stuff's at a homeowner's house, saying, "Here you go."
That's incredible.
Just doing it like instant. So there's a lot of fixes. So in saying that, we look at our program. We say, okay, what are the benefits of steel? We've gone through a plethora of information so far, making it easy for the consumer to say, "Look, I am spending more money. Protect me."
Yeah.
Right. And then cover me.
Yeah.
It's one thing to write it down. It's another thing to actually say, we don't want issues, but if there's ever an issue, here it is. We'll fix it.
Yeah.
And I got to give everybody at Fortress a huge thumbs up. I've been with other companies and it hasn't been as good. So
yeah, a company that will stand behind the warranty they give, because there's two types of companies. There's ones that will do just exactly that, and they like if they said they'll cover it, they'll say they'll cover it. And there's other ones that want to give a big warranty as a sales technique, but they have no intention. There's so much fine print and so many outs for them to try to do, and then when you try to file that claim, it's just a nightmare because all they're trying to do is get out of actually having to follow through in the warranty.
Kind of like printers.
And that's awful. Yeah, don't get me started on our printers.
He was really mad.
You guys,
the drive up. Call me on the drive up. I want to hear it, but not now.
You guys are not the first ones to put steel frame in market. Trex had a product out there for a number of years called Elevations. I don't think caught on the way maybe they thought it would, but I think a lot of that was partially because it was a completely different way of installing a deck. These wood guys have wood tools. They want to be familiar with the product they're using. When they grab a 2x8, they want it to feel like a 2x8. A lot of guys didn't like the fact that Trex's was just a C channel that it just cut different, it played different, it carried different than wood. It was just less familiar. So there was probably a bit of hesitation for people to make that switch because it was just too different. You guys have kind of come out with an attempt to make it familiar to wood. So can you explain a little bit about the install process of putting this stuff together and why people might feel more comfortable using your product versus just the Trex steel that's now discontinued and gone, or versus just going getting their own light gauge steel and doing something, right? Like how is your system easier?
Well, I think it's because it is a complete system. I think I beat this into the heads of everybody talking because it's all encompassing. And I think that was one of the drawbacks from the Trex program as well. It wasn't everything. And some of the competitors out there that are doing great jobs. Like I like the forward thinking. I like how this industry is moving in this direction. They're missing the boat on that holistic system. So to your point, Jane, when you install this, if you can install with wood, if you have installed with wood, you can look at this steel and figure it out within 10 minutes. And I don't have to do the PK with you. You can actually pull out the book and go, okay, well, this makes sense. A 2x6 is a 2x6. We only have 2x6 for joist, for instance. Right. 2x11 on a beam. Joist hanger looks the same. Brackets look very similar to what you're using on a steel frame.
It's not
or a wood frame.
Foreign that you're not going to be able to figure it out.
You're looking at it
when
going,
you look at
I can kind of see
oh, yeah, I know how this is going to work. I know what this will do.
And that's what we love. We say, okay, I want to teach you. I want to go through it and make sure you're set. But you're the professional. You're the contractor. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. Here's my system. What do you think? He goes, I get it. It makes sense. It's on paper. Okay. But now I'll go through the finer points. And then there's like little things you got to pay attention to. But I think by and large, because it's a complete system, I call it Lego for big kids, the mechano set for big kids. The only other fastener that you need typically is for the rim joist to be attached to the substrate, whatever substrate you're going to, whether it be wood, concrete, whatever. We don't supply those, but you got one.
We have them online at tuds.ca.
.ca. That's a good plug. Not bad. Got to train very well.
Slick there, eh? Yeah. Wade, you have one job during this whole podcast. Make sure you plug it at least once. Slide it in. Yeah.
Done.
So the ready to assemble facet makes it interesting and intriguing to the contractors out there because they don't have to spend 3 weeks at a conference or a training facility and go, this is what you need to do, right? Yeah. The material acts the same. You cut the same. You're using different cutting machines, and we should have brought. I should pop that one up at some point, but
we got a guy.
You got a guy. but you not have to go out and spend 15 grand on new tools.
I
It's
can't.
an impact drill and a saw.
Yeah, I can't wait until tomorrow. So we're going to spend some time with Nick, who actually built a deck, his first steel frame.
Yep.
And you should just have your phone on record, and you should, ask him questions and then record him what he says, because he's already been into the store talking to me about it. And it's like, it was so great. It was like, it's just shaped like a 2x6. So I understood it. And then I went to put it together, and the hangers were just the hangers. It was great. And I really liked it. It was all so true and straight and nice to work with. And then I had a DIY customer use it all, and exact same feedback. Came in and was like, I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. I was a little nervous to get started. And then, nope, I'm not nervous at all. 1 hour in, I was just like, yep, we can do this. And they did.
That's the thing. I feel, and I think you feel this way. Obviously, you sold it a couple times. I feel comfortable selling it now. I've never built it. I've never been on the job site of one going up yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to right away.
Yeah.
But I've never actually. So a lot of my sales ability the reason we started the store or whatever was our experience with it. I can walk anybody through how to solve a problem building a deck, because I've done it before with wood 100 times.
Yep.
Or 1,000 times. With this stuff, I've never used it, but I still feel like I can tell somebody how to use it because it just makes so much sense. The second we got our displays in the store, you just pop the parts out and look at it, and you're like, well, that's slick. This goes here, plop, plop, plop.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously easy. The one thing I love about the system too is that the ledger, you can get the predetermined spacing on the ledger. There's holes punched at 12 or 16 inches on center.
Yep.
And there's a freaking bracket that goes in there that you slide your joists onto.
Yep.
Literally the practice that we used to do of holding the wood in place, popping a screw or some nails in there to hold it until you went back under and did your hanger later is gone. You just slide it onto the bracket, and then it's held itself in place. You could walk on it then. You throw one little screw in it to make sure it doesn't slide out at some point.
Yep.
But having those pre-punch spacing and not having to mark layout is a big time saver too. There's just so many little time savers along the way, not sorting your lumber, not stacking your lumber, not planing your lumber, not marking out your joists, not all these little things add up to being a giant time saver.
Yep.
What he said. But it's very true. That's where a lot of the question comes in. How does it install? You're gonna determine this. This was his first job. This guy we're meeting with.
Nick.
It was first job, right?
Yep.
He gets to job 3. He comes in and tells you how to do it. That's what's cool about it, because there's a steep learning curve. There's definitely a learning curve. You get to job 2, you're like, okay, I remember this. Maybe I'm trying some extra stairs or doing some different things on job 2. You get to job 3, they're just like,
yeah. He said the only thing that was slower is that for him it was his first time, so it was a little bit slower trying to get comfortable with it. And then he said that the screws did take longer to bite when they were putting the decking down, when they were putting it together, because the idea of fastening a screw into wood, they bite immediately, right? Yep. And with metal, they don't. That's not a flaw of Fortress. That's a metal practice. If you've ever put a screw into metal, that's what happens. It takes a little bit. Even when you put railing together, so. Anyways,
well, at Tuds.ca, you do have X metal clips from Camo, and that's a plug for me. And they actually work a lot quicker than I anticipated.
Yeah.
When I was doing the Camo, what are they
Camo
called?
drive, the stamp.
The stamp one, yeah. I had my son doing it. I posted a video of that, and boom.
But the other thing is too, sure, it takes longer to start one of their little screws in steel than it does wood, obviously.
Yep.
But you're using way less of them. For example, connecting that joist to the ledger, you slide it on, you put a screw in the side. Maybe 2 if you want to really follow the instructions. So 1 or 2 screws there with a wood
the rep
joist.
Is here, you should follow the instructions.
Yeah,
the rep is right
I told him yesterday. With one's probably
these are his words. I said 2 just to make sure that make sure the other Fortress people are. Yeah, exactly.
I got all the guys at home. What the hell?
What are you doing telling everybody to put 1 screw in there? How are we going to sell all these screws we got made?
But I mean 1 or 2 screws.
You only need 1 really there, because it's not for shear strength up and down. It's simply just stopping it from
sliding off
out.
That bracket
right there. But
which is going to be tagged into the beam too. It's not going to slide off anyway.
You get it all set up. It's.
But what are you doing for a wood joist? You're probably firing at least 2 nails into it before you even put the hanger on.
Correct.
Then you go put the hanger on and you have 12 more screws to put in.
At least.
So 14 fasteners into that thing versus the 1. Well, I don't care how fast those start. You're not doing 14 fasteners, you're doing 1.
Yep.
You're going to net out faster in the end, right? Even though the 1 screw took longer to put in.
Yes.
Or 2 if you want to not be a rebel like Jason.
Right.
Rebel. So, that's a very good point. A lot less fasteners used and still only 1 fastener.
Yes.
So you got your tool belt, You don't have different screws and different, you got one pack of them. And I'm saying this because, to your point, you feel better about installing something or selling something after you've installed it, right?
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly believe that. But as a salesperson, you're working for companies, the only ones you're ever putting up are at trade shows.
Yeah.
And they're prefabbed and they're all set and it's hunky-dory and you're inside and it's like, boom, 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 there it is. Okay, now show and do the show. Doing my deck this year was enlightening beyond belief in terms of the nuances, what I knew were going to be pain points and how I can answer those now on the job sites.
Yep.
And like understanding that I wasn't as strong as I thought I was. So my tendonitis in my right arm from screwing it. But it was...
but it's still lighter than lumber, right?
Totally lighter. Well, the 20-foot beams do have some weight on them. I got to admit. The 20
I don't know, man. I was carrying some stuff that was pretty heavy.
Yeah, but pick up a 3-ply 2x10 20-foot
Yeah.
beam.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
No, you can't.
It's not exactly one-man job there either.
Yeah, it's different because it's different. Like when you say, "Oh, this is different than wood." Yeah, it's different. Wood's not wood. Mm-hmm. It's definitely apples and oranges.
We didn't want it to be like wood. That was the idea.
Yeah.
We wanted to
Familiar
install
too.
like wood. We want the contractor, the end user, to feel comfortable doing it and have that familiarity. But
psychology.
I don't want it to work like wood.
Yeah.
And this isn't a wood bashing. I got a wood pergola or whatever you want to call it nowadays.
Yep.
There's applications for wood. It's just from a safety factor and what you were saying at the beginning, people are spending so much more money on their deck and their railing packages now. And it's a sales pitch we say all the time. Why are you not protecting the weakest link?
Yeah.
Which is your frame.
Yeah, the foundation, right?
Because
Make it strong
like,
and it'll last forever.
you can replace your decking, no problem. That's easy.
Yep.
This was actually the science behind like the evolution.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I punned
Yeah,
that, boys.
Yeah, I did.
I punned that hard.
He told me last night he was going to drop that in.
I didn't believe him. I wasn't sure how he was going to do it. Like it seemed like a big task. But the evolution of the components, like we came out with, not we, but like the industry came out with decking that's going to last forever and be really good. And it's like, and then the railing happened too. And we did that. And then everybody just kind of left the framing alone, which is the part you can't replace. Like when the framing's done, you replace the whole deck. The decking you can replace. If your framing's still solid and your decking rots away for some reason, it's easy to replace that, keep the framing, but you can't do it the other way around. Yep. So it's just like, we're finally catching up now so that all three components, including the most important part, are all going to last that same amount of time. The thing I love about it too, because I would say the last, like, call it 3 to 4 years. When did you guys, like, when did this come to market formally?
IDS, 2018.
Okay, so it's been out for, this is about 3 years.
And then the stair came out, the stair component system came out a year later.
Right. And so when you came out, Trex Elevations was still in market at that time. It just went discontinued last year, I think.
Right.
And more recently, there's been other companies that are flirting with it. Bailey, for example, has been one that some of the guys have tried out there and switched. The reason that everybody's gravitating towards Fortress now is because they can't get Trex anymore. But no, even before, guys.
Oh, jeez.
He can do the rest by
You got the notes. I'm good, right?
No, but the thing that they loved and fell in love with Fortress, and maybe some guys moved to Fortress because they did have to, because they are Trex Pro, and they would have continued to use Trex if it was available because they got the points and blah, blah, blah. But the thing they love, because I know there's some guys like that probably, maybe would have stayed in the Trex family if they had the choice. But as soon as they did the Fortress one, they fell in love with it, and all of their pain points we talk about pain points from wood. Well, what about pain points from the other systems that weren't really complete systems?
Yep.
Like the Trex wasn't, and like Bailey is trying to figure this stuff out, but I've seen a few guys on Instagram that were flirting with it. They've all switched because they were trying to make that system work. And then they realized that like, this product isn't done. Like,
not ready.
These guys don't have the system in place. Fortress did all the thinking before they launched the product.
Yep.
And now there's very minor things that you're trying to figure out, right? It's like guys are figuring out how to do different things just from a preference on how they want to block for a picture frame, whatever.
Yep.
But Fortress did a lot of the thinking ahead of time.
Yep.
It's like, well, how do you do this? Well, we've already got a bracket for that. Like it's as a system, it just works.
So good.
So you're saving time not figuring out custom solutions on how to do things.
As a retailer, I love that too, because it's easy for us to sell it. It's easy for us to put the SKUs in and be like, here's how this sells. Here's what here's what you use these products for. You're not constantly going back to a rep being like, well, I want to fasten a block like this. What kind of fastener should I get? Well, it's this. How much? I don't know. I have to call you back. Then they call you back. Then you got to put it in, figure out what you're going to make on it. put it in the system, sell it. It's just.
And it's one thing to get the system down on the deck floor. It's that. But where a lot of guys were falling short, a lot of guys is in other companies that have attempted to do steel framing, is the stair system. They just didn't have one.
Yep.
It wasn't available.
Correct.
So then you're like, great, I've managed to like customize and get this thing built up top. And now I'm at the stairs where it's just like these little standard components that are available that I used up here don't work for down here. Mm-hmm. But you guys came out with an entire stair tray system that also works. So you've solved that problem for people too. So tell me about a little bit about the stair system, how it works.
Yeah, the stair system was a year in the making after we launched, because a lot of the stairs done were box stairs. They just use 2x6 material, use the brackets you can make your box steps, right? So basic. But for the long runs of step, we didn't have an option, like a really good option. So when they came out with, and it was in evolution at the very beginning.
God, so good.
Yeah, just pun. When it came out and we said, okay, again, the simplistic idea was in play. Let's limit the amount of SKUs. Let's try to reuse as many SKUs as we have for the rest of the deck to make the stair. So we use a 2x6 and there's fixed and adjustable stair brackets, right?
Yep.
I'll say everybody on this and everybody listening, well, I just use adjustable. You're probably going to use 99% adjustable.
Yeah.
Right? The fixed ones are there. They work. I used them on mine because I had a nice rise run that I didn't have an issue. It was down to cement. The cement was already set. Off we go. You get the adjustable ones, what's perfect for the installer, especially if they're in cottage country and uneven landscape, you can make those adjustments on the fly. Right. You may have done the takeoff and you're thinking I was going to do 13 and you get to the job site and like, I want 14 steps this. Yep. I want the run to be a little longer. You can make those adjustments on the fly by using the stair calculator at fortressbp.com.
Oh, beautiful.
Good plug.
Yeah. But the stair calculator, I've used it recently with a couple of contractors in Ontario that have just tried it and they're like, it takes all the thinking.
Yep.
Like it's just done. Okay, good. And it gives you a picture. It's a PDF. Make the cuts, and now you have a stringer. And the safety factor's there because that stringer's strong. It'll hold.
You know what would be
the stair straps.
Good is on long runs. Wood is so spongy. I wonder if like a 12-foot or a 13-foot set of stairs with 3 of those 2x6s in there, how strong that would be.
That's exactly what I have. I should take a video next time I'm home and run up and down. I've got them bolted to the cement, which you're supposed to do with your 3/8 red heads on the bottom. Yep. And I've got 3 stair straps and 3 stringers and then 4-foot stair.
Okay.
So that was one thing. And
stiff.
It's stiff, but you can hear it. Like people are like, oh, that sounds like steel. I'm like, yeah, because it's steel.
Right.
Sorry.
Yep.
But it's not that you're bouncing up and down. I got a 90-pound German Shepherd. All you hear is nails. Yep. It's not that it's moving. But you can brace if you want. If it's a really long run, you can use our posts, pop them on the side, and use them as extra lateral bracing as well. Yep. So, again, still using the components that we've had at the beginning. Yep. So I want to touch on one thing because you brought it up, and it's really cool, is...
Fun guy.
You're a fun guy.
You're a fun guy. Fun Wade over there.
He's been fun since the beginning. It's just... you brought up the retail aspect.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot less SKU, because then you have a lot less waste, a lot less shrinkage. Like it's just, you're able to sell and able to inventory this program a lot easier on a retail side. And I think a lot of people do kind of forget that.
Yeah.
We do concentrate on that on the railing side as well.
Yep.
Some of our railings have the same thing. We try to eliminate as many SKUs. You don't need a 300 SKU count to make a good railing. You can get down to 50 and you have a good system.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. So we kind of take that premise and throw it into the evolution and it just works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any questions on the Instagram?
There's been a few comments here. I'm trying to, it's pretty busy in here actually.
Yeah, he wants this, a shirt because we're going to a golf tournament on Friday. Apparently he wants one of these shirts.
Bring him a shirt.
I'll
apparently.
bring this one.
There is one comment that, does it get hot when it's sitting in the sun? Like when you're working with it, I'm assuming yes,
the answer
it's black.
Is yes.
Like
absolutely.
Anything that sits in the sun, especially if it's black.
What's very interesting though is like, you can put some water on it. Actually, it dies down right away. But you put it into shade, and within I kid you not, 5 seconds, you're like, okay, it's not hot.
So how cold
warm.
does it get?
This is
when you put your tongue to it, it does stay. Now, ask that one kid. Like you go talk to him now. He doesn't talk that well, but he's like
So you're saying that your steel isn't resistant to the weather.
Temperature swings.
It adjusts to and matches the temperature of the outside environment, just like every other material in the world does.
Just like every other
Does it
cold-blooded
very
animal.
well too.
Yours doesn't stabilize at 20 degrees.
Just sits at 20 all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Introducing thermal stability like you didn't think about it before.
Well, you know those cables you put on a roof for the snow? You know,
Yes.
what if you put those in the steel?
Oh, yeah.
It'll melt your snow through the
Oh,
deck
yeah.
in the winter.
Yep.
Preheated decking.
Now you're on
'cause
something,
they're-
boy.
'cause they're
Let's
hollow.
go.
You could run whatever
You can
you
run
wanted
it. Well,
through.
I run the lighting through it and
Yeah.
everything else, so you could run whatever you want through there.
I heard Mike from Simcoe just pumps it full of spray insulation, and that like,
That's so they can float when he's doing the deck with the docks.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, he just did one actually, a dock situation with some helical piles that were I think 20. I don't know. He'll probably answer, but 24 or 25 feet deep.
Yep.
It was pretty heavy duty, and he's 18 inches above. That suckers, and it's a pond, so you're not going to have these huge waves and everything else, and worry about water. But yeah, that'll last forever.
Yep.
That'll be there forever.
God, this is a good point too. USMC on the Instagram again, 2513 just said we also run electrical through the hollow frame for whatever.
Yeah.
That is my
what you-
my counterpart in Texas.
Yeah, I wasn't going to give you up on that, but
No, it's okay.
Oh, yeah, you
That's-
did.
I don't mind
You gave yourself up. That was a freebie.
right?
He floated it to you.
it. I know. No.
I was trying to cover and pretend that was just a random audience question.
Hey, he's doing wonders down in Texas area with the steel framing. He covers a good portion of Texas, and
Are we going to meet him
you will at the Cowboys game.
at the
It's
show?
not something I
At the
thought
show.
about, but that's actually like a really cool benefit of having that hollow channel. That
Absolutely.
you can hide all your wiring.
In the railing as well.
Yep.
And I'll bring this up at some other point, but we have the hollow points in the accent top pieces on top.
Yes.
So you run the wire for the lighting through those.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a little spot in the top of the bracket. There's a little notch in the brackets. And I when I first started, I'm like, what is that? No one seemed to know. I went to the product manager. I'm like, what's the deal? And he goes, oh, yeah, I haven't really seen that before. So then I went to innovation, the guys that were making the brackets for us. Says, why'd you put the notch in there? He said, well, we drill a hole so you can run the wire through the post and do the lighting.
You should have ran that over the sales guy's floor so we could have sold that.
Right?
It should be quick.
Kind
right?
of missed that part.
So
There was a
instead of going
down.
up and down, you're just zooming through. But you have to put the ATR on top
Sure.
because that gives you that channel.
I
work,
see.
Right? If you
Gotcha.
use the top, then no, you'd have to tuck it.
I got a question about the stairs. They're not like specific to the rest of the system. You could use them with any deck project, right?
A lot of commercial applications for the stairs.
Yeah.
Right. If they need a commercial type, cool looking stairs and want a landing or whatever, we're getting a lot of quotes. The East Coast, I got a 15 or 18 story.
That seems like a game changer. Steel stairs.
Yeah.
Just one set of stairs all the way
Yeah.
down, 18 stories.
It's
Talk about spans, boy. Like,
just welded them back together all the way down.
they slide into each other just like ease trough, and just like all the way down you go. Slide.
In the winter, it's a slide.
Yeah,
You just
exactly.
At the top, you kick the door open.
Yeah. So, just to talk about install a little bit more, one of the things that some guys are pushing back on a little bit.
JWF.
What's that?
J, what the?
What's
he's
he
not.
referring to there?
I don't know. I have to ask him. What are you referring to?
Show your work.
Some of the contractors that we've talked to, or in the industry, have kind of said like, I don't want to have to buy a bunch of new tools because they've got everything they need to do wood. They've got a trailer full of $15,000 worth of wood tools. What can they expect for investment into new tools to be able to do a steel frame job? Like we've got probably the main tool right in front of us sitting here. We can show a little bit, but is this it? You pick up one of these bad boys and you can basically do your first deck and there's not much more required aside from your drills and whatever else.
A file.
But you already have that. Oh, yeah, you should get a file.
Yeah, you're going to have that stuff, right?
Get a file.
Yeah.
Proper pens, markers, Eric, that work on the framing. So yes, that. But the drill bit. We got one bit for the. I think it's a T20 you need for the fasteners. That's it, really. But steel saw is absolutely a must. And I'll say this right now. Don't go just buy a steel blade and throw it in your framing saw.
Yeah, that
Do
won't work.
not do that because you're going to hate us.
Yep.
So get the right saw and you're good to go. And we just found that this Milwaukee one, what is really cool is it has a catcher. It catches probably 80% of the shards.
The reason behind the different saw is that they rotate at a different RPM, right?
Correct.
And you want a slower RPM. Okay.
So that's the one you recommend. That's a cordless one. So it might cost a bit more than a corded version, but that's what, $700 or $800 Canadian?
700 with the battery.
Yeah, $700 for the battery. So it's no like same cost as a miter saw that you would have anyway, or that you would.
Yeah, and DeWalt.
three
I'm
of
not
them.
gonna. I don't have to drop name or whatever, but I don't really care. I mean, Milwaukee, I like. DeWalt's got a couple. All the guys have steel saws now because the steel is taken off.
Yeah, it's like we loaned one of these out to Keystone. Loved it. Wasn't that his feedback? He's like, saw was slick. Like it did its job perfectly.
I asked
First
for
time
it
I
back.
used
He
it,
said
it was-
no.
He just took
Can I get that back? He was like, no.
No.
But I mean, if you think about this
Seems fair.
as a system, like what else would you need? You don't need a planer, that's for sure.
Nope.
Like the only thing you need to do is trim your joist to length, maybe, and trim your beam to length, maybe.
Yep. And then fasten it together with
Maybe a little bit
hex
of blocking here and there.
screws.
But not even that much blocking because you guys have this like pre-cut or pre-molded mid-span blocking straps.
Yep.
So that, like, talk about those little bit of time savers here. There's like 20 minutes saved not standing at the saw or sending your lackey over to stand at the saw and cut blocking at 14 and a
And then put it
half
in.
or 14 and 3/8 or whatever you're doing it at, and then going and nailing it all in because you guys just have one strap,
right?
And it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't always fit.
Trim that one because it's pushing the joist out or whatever, and you guys just have little. What are they coming 4 foot lengths? I think it is.
Yep.
Little straps that just like they're already predetermined lengths, so your spacing is perfect. No such thing as like a bowed joist because everything's predetermined, and your beams
They stay
strapping
right
too.
down in the middle. Like it's not that the blocking tends to be offset because you got to nail it right from the side.
Yep.
This is right down the middle.
So you might have to trim the odd piece for like some railing blocking or something out of the 2x6, but really the amount of cutting is going to be minimal.
Yep.
That you have to spend at a saw. So that one saw, if that works as good as everybody says it does, then great.
Yeah, and the lengths happen to be very similar to dimensional lumber. So that's another thing. We tried 12, 16, 18, 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Okay.
we talk about your horizon? Nope.
Yeah.
We're not talking about horizon. We're not allowed to use in Canada because it's a climbing hazard. So we can't talk about it. Sorry.
Precision Construction says the motor's on the wrong side of that saw. and
Yeah, was it lefty?
Scott says it's because it's Canadian.
That's pretty funny.
I don't even know if that's what he's replying to, but it worked really well there. So
It's Canadian.
now you guys, there's some buzzwords that you guys throw around sometimes that I don't know if I completely understand, but Fortress talks about the total solution thing that is coined or whatever. What does that mean? Like
This
I have not looked this up.
past well, it was supposed to be 2020. It was a coming out year 2020, but a lot of other things happened in 2020, unfortunately. So it's kind of like a 2-year process now. We're into year 2 and we're booming. But the total Fortress solution involves all 8 of our product categories. We're just not railing. We're just not fence. We're just not now steel. We have lighting. It's going to be its own category, but pergolas are coming out using the Evolution material. But we're going to come out with
I can't wait.
plans. That's
One thing we get asked for quite a bit, maintenance-free pergolas.
I'm looking forward to it. I've seen some beta, and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. You'll see it at Deck Expo for sure, but it'll probably be launched prior to that.
If you're curious about why to go to Deck Expo,
Come see pergolas. Pergolas. What's the way to, like, I got goon.
I say
pergola.
I say
I got
pergola.
goon on our sales meeting on Monday because the Canadian said it wrong. I said pergola. I'm like, is it not a pergola?
Yeah,
Or is
I
it
say
pergola?
I say
I think
pergola.
it's pergola.
Any of the guys that
I'm on the other guy's side.
sell cedar,
You're awful for saying pergola.
yeah,
Turn his mic off. That's enough.
Yeah, no more pergola over there.
it seems like cedar guys say pergola, but
So-
everybody else in the industry says pergola.
What are you, if you're at a mountain and you're taking the little bucket up the cable thing up the side of the mountain, what are you riding on?
A cable thing. Is that a pergola?
It's a pergola.
No. Like I don't want to say it.
Gondola.
Yeah, see?
Gondola.
A gondola.
So you don't say gondola.
Some people do.
There's a country
I know
called
some people do,
gondola,
but I'm
isn't
saying like he didn't.
it? Pergola.
So
Pergola,
get your stuff together and start saying it the Canadian way, pergola.
one or the other.
Is it supper or dinner?
Oh yeah,
Food. It's food.
Boy, oh boy. So total solution you're saying is
So
basically
total
referring to the
solution-
fact that you guys have products in every category from start to finish.
For your backyard
Backyard.
oasis, we can service it all. We can service one.
so you're gonna do framing.
Framing.
You have some decking.
We have some decking that is really nice, and it's definitely a year of its coming out party is now. So we've shown some of that.
Then you have railing.
We have steel and aluminum railing. We have cable
Yes.
railing. I mean, that's all in the railing. So fence.
Oh yeah,
Fence is another one. Fence is a huge part of our business.
Yeah.
And it continues to be a great factor for us. So the lighting, and then number 8 is sometimes missed, but fasteners. We have specific fasteners for our decking, so it's thrown in there. So, like I said,
You guys have like the decorative plates, like is Osco still under?
no,
your banner?
Osco
Is that
is no
gone?
longer. Osco was sold.
Who did my research for me? Who did my
wasn't me.
research? Okay, fine. So not that. Here I thought I was saving you.
That was a nice one, but no, not.
Great
not
try.
Osco.
It was a great product when I was with you guys. It's really gone downhill since it left. But anyway,
Good save, Shane.
right?
Good save.
Composite fence is going crazy, says Scott in the Instagram chat here. So tell me a bit about more of that, because we don't do a lot. I don't see a lot of that here in our market specifically. It's a lot of wood and mostly vinyl here. You do see some ornamental fencing and whatnot here as well, but it's not a commonplace. So what's if it's so big elsewhere, like why do people do composite fencing versus a wood fence or a vinyl fence, let's say?
Well, vinyl, I think, and composite fencing is very similar. It's the maintenance free. It's I don't have to stain it. It's not going to warp as much. Some composites do.
Yep.
But we have like products, and Scott talks about them as well. The combination of a steel and a composite board in one. So you have a steel fence and you insert the composite, or like the product I showed you called Estates, or you can insert the composite boards inside. So it's the best of both worlds. A really heavy duty fence. It's not going to wear. It's going to stay straight and everything else. And then you added the added bonus of the composite. So
I absolutely love that product you showed, because, and my first question was not that I don't want to buy your products, but could somebody use any 5/4 like by 6 decking in there? Because maybe they've got a fiber-on decking on their deck already, but they want to redo their fence and they want it to match. It's like they could match their deck to their fence perfectly, because a lot of people do try to do that.
Yep.
They're like, well, my fence is kind of like an almondy color, so I'd like to get like a light beige deck to kind of match it. And with that system, they could match it perfectly. Like they could use the same boards.
Yep.
If they wanted to, right? But you guys also have a couple composite boards that are sold
Basic
in
colors.
6-foot lengths that are like for the system, but it's flexible. You can put other things in there.
Yep.
Like even wood. Some of the pictures show wood fencing, right?
Majority of the room scenes in the literature are stained cedar inside.
I think that would be really good.
Cedar and black looks
So sharp.
badass all the time.
Yep.
Like
With
it's
some
a good look.
Q-Tech Extreme with some
Yep.
studs here.
Right?
A tuds.ca.
Bottom, right?
And you could paint it. You could oil it real quick with your.
I ordered some,
Decking.
and I'm going to try their shipping. Would ship today, I guess, right?
It would have shipped today.
Would have shipped today. Some that and some flavoring for my backyard.
Flavor.
The mosquitoes.
Mosquito barrier.
Oh, the
Mosquito flavoring.
Bug juice.
The garlic bread backyard.
When I first came in yesterday, he's like, "Yeah, it's gonna smell." I'm like, "But that's not bad though." Like,
if you
there's
like
worse.
garlic.
Well, yeah, okay. If you don't like garlic,
If
it's not
you
gonna
don't,
be-
it's awful in here right now.
Like your store smells like that.
yeah, it's a
Well, the whole
Ukrainian
thing.
kitchen.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I walked in. I'd been in the Saskatoon store all week, and then I was gone for the Sunday. Came back Monday morning, and it was like, oh man,
You don't even have that much.
strong here.
Did you see any mosquitoes in there though?
Yes, one dead right beside the bucket. And that's a true story. Get Carly to send a picture of it. So
Yeah.
he took a picture of it. He was like, "Look at the mosquitoes dead right beside it."
Couldn't handle
Sitting
it.
there sucking back garlic juice all weekend, couldn't handle it.
That's funny.
So anyway, we're gonna see that. It's gonna be there hopefully on Friday. Be
Okay.
cool.
I'm not going to let you get away without talking about the question that everybody's going to wonder about.
Yes.
Everybody always asks,
How do I get a free hat?
How do I get a free hat? Everybody asks that.
Got one. Just showed up and he's just like, here's that.
The second most commonly asked question is, how much more is the steel frame going to cost than wood? Because I think undoubtedly through this conversation, like there's obviously not really any drawbacks to going to steel. It's like, it's all pros. It stays flat. It doesn't move. It blah, blah. Like it's all great. It looks great.
Yep.
It's all great, but how much more is this going to cost me to do though versus my wood frame deck? So do you guys have a number or how does that work? How do we answer that question?
Varied. Typically answer, I always say more than wood. And then I just walk away and then you go, you guys figure it out. So no, the idea is with everything we talked about, extra spans, being able to use less material, less skew count. Labor is a big factor in this as well, because if you're not a do-it-yourselfer, you're getting the contractor to do it. If you can save them time and money on the install, they will save that customer hopefully some money as well if they pass on the savings.
You mentioned that just right there, though. This system is fairly DIY friendly. One of the jobs that Wade sold up in Saskatoon was to like
the one we're
a
going to look
DIY.
at tomorrow is DIY.
Right?
Yep.
So it's like,
oh, perfect.
it doesn't have to be just for contractors.
And that's the thing. It's a very friendly product, and that's part of it. Yes, we want the professionals to have fun with it as well and make as much money as they can because that's a profession. But if you're at home and you're handy and you want to try it yourself, you can.
So
it's
this
easy.
The father. So it's on the son's house. The son is likely our age or slightly younger, and
29.
and holding.
Slightly younger.
His dad owned a lumber yard before and had sold it and was just like, I'm comfortable with this. I'm comfortable with the idea of putting this together. And so he was the one who kind of spearheaded the build. And so that's the one we'll look at.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a long-winded answer, but you can shorten it by saying, if you're eliminating product, if you're eliminating the amount of posts, because how much does a helical pile post cost nowadays? To have it installed one post, I've heard anywhere from $300 to $500 typical numbers per post. So if you're eliminating 3 or 4 posts, even 5 or 6 posts on a big deck, there's some savings right there. So you got to kind of look at each job. What I do know for a fact is that if it's a 10 by 10 deck, basic 10 by 10 deck, nothing, you can't take the benefit of the extent. If you can't use that, it's going to be more.
Yeah.
Right. And in those situations, you're looking at 4 to 5 times the price of a wood structure, right? But when we get into decks, like I said at the very beginning, decks are getting bigger. Backyard oases are no longer just here's a basic deck and put a fire pit down, off we go. They're maxed out. They look phenomenal. I always look at it, there's 3 types of deck buyers in my mind. There's the customer that walks in and says, I want a PT deck, PT boards, PT spindles, PT rail, everything PT. Probably not going to be the customer you're going to upsell to steel, right? They'll be like, I'm
going to give her the old college try, though.
Right. You'd be lucky to upsell.
What if I throw in a hat?
You'd be lucky to upsell to coated screws usually. Peace. Here's all your stuff.
So a pack of brad nails then, sir?
I have yet to see
Get out of my store.
I've yet to see a steel frame with 5-quarter deck board on top.
Yeah, that's right.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
now,
most
it
of
would
them
be
are-
interesting to see. I'd be like, okay. But
Yeah, most of them are the higher end deck boards, right?
So-
Whether it's a Transcend from Brand T, Trex, right? Or Decorator's board or an AZEC. Like it's almost always a top end board.
yeah, well, and they're upgrading their railing system.
Yep.
They're going to an engineered railing, whether it be glass or cable or whatever the case may be. They've looked at that and said, the PT was $100, and the upgrade is $500.
Yep.
Well, that's 5 times the cost.
Yep.
So to say it's about 3 to 4 times the cost of a wood is probably fair, but in certain situations and certain structures and everything else, it could be only 2 times the cost.
It's a pretty tough comparison to make right now because wood pricing is all over the map too.
And that's what it's tough to answer because you're right.
Yeah.
If we're talking in April of this year, we're having a little bit of a different conversation
than April of last year. Yeah.
Right. So
I just did 2 ballpark quotes yesterday. Nope, this morning before I left this morning. And the deck was 1,400 square feet and it was $53,000 in material for steel frame, decorator's decking, fortress rail, and no lights. And then the fasteners were in that. So 53,000. And then with wood frame, still 16-inch on center, same decking, same railing and everything, it was 47,000.
Yeah. So I think that's
So
what we've kind of said before
like
is
it
like the
was
total project might go up 10%, 15%.
10 to 15 is what I tell people.
Yeah.
And your total project, it's 10 to 15%.
Because you had done a couple, maybe we did here too, where, and about a couple months ago, so when prices were a bit high in wood, the quotes were coming out to about double what wood was at that time. Now, if wood crashes back down to the floor, then it's going to be 3 or 4 times. But to Scott's point,
Frame to frame.
or not Scott's point, you're
Whatever
not
you are.
Scott.
Whatever you're
I'm talking to the guy. I'm talking to the guy down south, 6,000 miles away instead of you 6 inches from me. To Jason's point, like there's some savings that might happen within that too. That's not counting like, oh, we needed one less pile. NFDI is in here and he does pretty high end decks. He's saying like by the time he gets, so you eliminate a post, you're not just eliminating the
pile,
screw pile at $300. You're eliminating the complete dress job that he does on his posts, which he says that most of the posts that they trim out end up being $2,000 posts.
Have you seen his posts?
Because he does build outs and he trims them all out, right? So you're not just saving the $300 in the pile, you're saving out $2,000 on whatever you're doing with the post too, if you're dressing that up, potentially, right?
He dresses them up. Good on you. Those are good building posts. So, but good point. That's a savings of $2,500.
Yeah, and this guy has the one that I just did this morning it's a walkout onto a lake, and he wanted to save the view, and so he's talking about bringing in a steel I-beam because he didn't know about steel framing, right? He was just like, well, I'll do a steel I-beam and then I'll do teleposts, and that way I can get some spans, and then I can put wood joists on top, and he was going to build it like a floor system.
Right.
That was on these points, and I missed that. Thank you for bringing that up, because it's very key.
Yeah.
Is the walkout basement and the usable space that you create and you gain by using less posts.
Yep.
So
and then also more headroom too.
Yep.
So now you don't have a 2x10 joist with a drop beam. You have a 2x6 joist, and
you can go flush if you want.
It can go flush.
Yeah.
So that's what we did on the one that we won't look at. But
The other things that we've talked about a little bit in the store, and I don't know if Fortress uses this as a selling feature or not, but we often
like.
Yeah.
Copyright.
We'll rent it. We often tell people, like, you don't necessarily need to use fascia with this system because it's all powder coated black. It looks sharp by itself.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing like Fortress or any like matte black railing as well. It matches the railing. It can look good on its own. Nobody does a treated deck with composite on top that doesn't also do the fascia.
Yep.
So all of a sudden you're spending, depends on the size of the deck, $1,000, $2,000 on fascia.
Almost easy $1,500
to hide the wood.
Yep.
It really becomes optional when you're using the steel framing because it looks good by itself. It actually can look better. And I think, I've said this to Wade before, I said, I think what would look really, really sharp is just ripping down like even half a deck board and putting that along the top and giving it like a stepped look. So you got the nosing of your picture frame border potentially that steps back to a small little ripped, 2.5 inch piece or 2 3/4 inch piece that steps back to the bare black steel would be a cool little stepped detail there, right?
I agree.
Could look cool too. So you might save a whole bunch of money on fascia. You might save money on the piles. You might save money on dressing up that post where the pile is going to go. And then the third was a lot of times on walkouts, people want to put a soffit or something underneath the deck to hide the wood again. Like, how do I make the wood look less crappy from beneath? And again, on yours, you don't necessarily have to. Like if you wanted to dry it up and put a system in place, then maybe you do. But if you were going to put like even Trex Rain Escape over top of the steel framing, which is black, you don't necessarily have to do a soffit up underneath because it's all blacked out now. It can look good by itself. It has an industrial kind of cool look if somebody's looking for that vibe anyway, especially if they're doing cable rail or something else.
Have you been going through my notes? Like, why is he hitting all these? I didn't tell him this stuff.
I know.
Well, you weren't doing your job, so I figured I should step in and make sure that your
what he does.
company's
That
not.
seems fair. It is his podcast. I let him run with it.
That's why your company threw Scott in the chat here too, USMC, to make sure you like.
Would you go
By
save
the way-
Jason?
Yeah.
Go save Jason.
Yeah. So he calls it the hidden savings of the system, but they're real. There's actually savings there in a bunch of areas that you may not think about. So.
Yep. And we talk about it at length, him and I and the other regional managers across the country, because it's really taken off in the States right across the board. And it's coming out party this year with the likes of you Bring It On and the other guys in Canada. So I give a plug to all those guys doing it because it's a thankless job, some of this stuff they're doing. And to make it easier, that's all we want to do. Just remove the pain. And it is nice. You talked about the black coating because our AL13 home railing system.
Stocked at Ted's.com.
Stocked at Ted's. That black powder coating
Now it
is
is.
matched. Yeah, now.
We're
We're waiting for that one.
wasn't going to let you get away with that greasy plug with a little shot back.
Yeah, that was an hour in. Okay, good.
Another great point by Scott, the other Scott, the deck builder Scott, who does like only steel. He's allergic to treated wood. Says it's also easier to retrofit a dry system below the joist because you don't have to worry about the airflow with the joist.
Yep.
Or that rotting
Wood joist,
out,
you need
right?
some airflow. You can't have humidity building up or it rots the joist out. Not a problem with this stuff.
Yep.
So. We didn't really talk about the fasteners. You mentioned it a little bit, the camo fasteners, but I think we need to go back to this because that's something that people do worry about with, just to expand on it a little bit. You don't use your typical, deck clips because they're for wood, the screws in them, but you actually kind of do because Camo makes a clip that's the same as their regular wood clip, just with a self-tapping screw on it. And so as far as fastening your decking down, it's not really any different. And then you've got Starborn that makes and Cortex that makes self-tapping screws for their plug systems too. So people often think like, oh, how do I do it? How do I use the clip? So that's not going to work with this steel. No, it does. Like not every clip will, of course. You have to get one that's made for metal that has a screw in it, but it's a problem solved. There's no worry there. You can still do your plugs. You can still do your clips.
So was that a collaboration between Fortress and Camel? That was a thing. That
they did bring it out for all steel. So they were starting it when the Trex program was still in the market. So they saw the need, see a need, fill a need. So they went that route, and then they saw ours, and they said, we got to do them both, because you saw on their website, they posted both. They said it's for Trex and for Fortress, and now it's just for Fortress, which is...
Gotcha. Yep.
So, yes, it was a collaboration. It was tested. We used it. I did it on my deck. Phenomenal. Absolutely. Like, I don't get paid commission. Maybe Campbell, you can reach out, send me something.
They might,
right?
But it's a really easy system to work with, and those boards don't move. They're down. Like I've put down our Fortress Apex product, which is a PVC. So to our earlier point, my frame's not going to move, but I'm allowing that deck to move. So I put it down at the right time. I've given it the ability to move, and I've used Starborn with the plugs. Nothing. No issue.
Yeah.
Like I've got a little bit of expansion contraction, which again, PVC is known for. And if you plan for it and you know it, you accept it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the drawback with selling PVC. I'm sure you guys know it too. Like if you're not telling the customer that, they have that expectation. It's not supposed to move. No, it's going to move.
Yeah.
It's going to move. And if you plan for it, now it's just the deck moving, not your frame.
Even after you tell them, they expect it to not move.
Shouldn't move.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Should never move.
Now, here's the other thing too, just to mention, people are wondering like, are there any drawbacks to the usability of it? We've talked about how easy of a system it is to put together. And actually Scott from Precision Construction mentioned earlier that this is an easier system to use for DIY than wood is. Like he believes that, and like
I believe
he's a high-end
true.
deck builder. He shouldn't be trying to push that DIY stuff too much, but he's being honest. He's like, this system is easier for a DIY to figure out and put together than it is for
I would agree.
One thing we've heard from feedback on the couple jobs that we've sold with it was the screws not starting real fast. And somebody mentioned it in here too, that pre-drilling can make that easier. So we've had a couple guys that were like, we pretty much had to pre-drill all the screws. And so Wade took that feedback. I took that feedback. I came to you, was like, is this like, we tried a self-tapper once and it went in fine.
Yeah.
But you came here, you're like, well, I did my whole deck. And
because you were in charge of getting the drill. This is why. Because if I was the one who went to the counter and got the drill, I would have had a different tool in my hand. I prefer a drill and you always prefer an impact.
So I grabbed an impact naturally. Yeah.
And so when we went to put them in, it was no problem at all.
And we're suspecting that maybe the guys that were doing it, or you thought they said they were using drills.
I think they were using drills.
So your feedback was an impact actually works better in this case for tapping the steel than drills do.
It does.
You got these screws out yesterday, went up to our steel framing, and you're like this. Like of course it starts a little bit slower, but they went in without pre-drilling it. You have to put a bit of weight behind it for sure to get it to start. But long story short is, no, you don't have to pre-drill everything, but you will have to put a little weight behind it to get it to start cutting its way through. And then once it grabs, it sinks in like a split second.
Yep.
So pre-drilling could help, but you don't have to do it, right?
So hot minute.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a couple of points like your posts, and I've posted on my Instagram a couple of times, like on the beam to post brackets. We have certain screw patterns, and the bottom right of that bracket, any bracket, I always recommend pre-drilling that, because if you know where the roll happens on the beam, it's double walled there.
Right.
In that bottom inch of the, so if you're just trying to go, you're like, this is weird. Why is this a lot harder than the screw hole like half an inch above it? That's why, because you're going through two walls of steel. So
it's the double.
It's the double. And then obviously posts are 11 gauge.
Yeah.
So there's more meat there. And
yeah,
just save yourself the headache and just pre-drill real quick. Just give it something, and then it's butter.
Yeah. So best practices, maybe pre-drill some spots, pre-drill them all if you want to make them start a little bit faster, but you don't have to. A little bit of weight behind it will do the trick. Another point from Simcoe Decks on the Instagram here is a magnetic sweep is a full-time job. He was kind of laughing about that, but that's a good point. There may be some cutting that the metal shards don't get picked up by the saw because you're drilling it or something.
Correct.
And maybe it's a lawn with kids. You don't want little metal shavings around.
Yep.
Maybe you're doing the posts afterwards and the deck's installed and you don't want the metal shavings on the deck. Like, that's actually a good point.
My
Picking up one of those
neighbor
little
was,
magnetic brooms might be a good idea, actually.
He's a plumber, and he brought over his, and we did the lawn real quick, and yeah, it's amazing how many old screws I got from tearing down the old deck too that I thought I got.
Right?
But yeah, no, it's
so much easier than picking them out of your shin after the lawnmower.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, Jason, is there anything else that you want to talk about with this stuff today? You don't got to sell me in this stuff. We took a stocking position on it at the start of the year because we thought it was great. Like we'd always liked the idea of steel framing because all the benefits of it are very obvious. Mm-hmm. It's an easy sell if you're, and again, it's not for everybody, but for the right customer who's willing, it's an upgrade. There's no question that it's an upgrade, just like wood to composite is an upgrade.
Yep.
So not for everybody, but those that are willing to do it, it's a fantastic system. It's the best, easily by far the best steel framing system that's come out to date. Mm-hmm. And you guys seem extremely willing to take feedback. Like you guys worked with a lot of companies to develop it in the first place, a lot of contractors mm-hmm. and whatnot to get that feedback. You can tell that the system was done with contractor feedback in mind. Like they took that into account. You're willing to listen to the feedback. You've made some micro adjustments here and there with like the screws. You changed them out because some guys were saying that you're having some shearing issues. Fix that right away. So like I'm sold to the point that we bought a truckload of it at the start of the year and said, let's do this. Like, let's be one of the, we'll be the only guys in Saskatchewan that are taking it on.
Yep.
One of the few in Canada.
Yep. Because
we believe that this product is going to be like, it's here to stay. It's a great product. There's a market for it.
Yep.
We can sell this and people that decide to go for it will not regret it. Like,
and at least half of it's going to stay in our yard this winter, and we'll be ready to go next year.
Right? Yeah, we'll have a good start to next year with some stock too.
It'll be straight.
Yeah,
no call right out.
So that's the thing.
So yeah, I guess that's kind of the trend. We know wood's going to come back to earth a little bit, right? It may not come all the way down to historical low levels, but it's not going to be at its high level forever. So what I've seen this year is that seismic shift to just thinking that steel is something. It's coming out party this year for sure. But if you think about it, if right now worldwide, I think it still represents steel because steel framing in Europe is common.
Right.
It's like the number one choice. Wood is secondary.
Yeah.
So if you think of all the decks in the world, it's still under like 2% of decks are doing steel framing.
Right.
You can imagine if we took like 8% of market share.
I was like, even 1%. Yeah. Like if you took 1% of market share.
One more, yeah.
Yeah, from a sales point,
huge.
I'm happy to ride the wave, and I would be naive to think that other people are not thinking the same.
Yeah.
Like I got to come up with something. And competition is the uttermost, sense of flattery, I guess, in terms of you guys have done so well, we're going to copy, we're going to, sure.
Yeah.
Imitation's the ultimate form of flattery. But if they're making it better, then we all succeed. We all do well. Because I keep hitting this, and I tell my reps on the road, pay attention to the safety factor, because that's what ultimately we want to do here. Yes, we want it to look sexy. We want it to look like what it's supposed to in the mock-ups and the designs and everything else. But at the end of the day, we're still like protecting people on the railing side. And in a framing side, you want it to look good, but you don't want the deck to fall down.
Yeah,
let's not do that, right?
First.
Let's make sure it's functional, it's easy to put together, and people get longevity out of it, because we as a society are just, one of the coin phrases I always kind of throw out, too poor to be cheap. Like, why go buy that 50-cent piece of whatever when you're going to get 3 years out of it, when you can spend $1.50 and get 25 years out of it?
Yep. That's right.
So we need to start thinking with that mentality, and I think the steel has kind of had that coming out party, and I think people are like, "Oh, okay, it's making more sense."
Yep.
And we have it when it's local and it's in stock. So thank you for that. I like hands up, man. You guys are rocking and rolling with the stuff, and I think next year is only going to be better, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I think the first hurdle is trying to get people to talk about it.
Yeah, you got to get it. And then, like with anything, you got to get a couple in the market first and let those people talk.
I only took a flight to the Queen City to talk about it. That was it.
Yep,
that's right.
Fly on in and let's go talk.
Yeah, so it was Greenlee that I did that quote for, the ballpark.
Okay, he was just commenting here said, unless my big deck is approved in metal framing, then I'll help you clean out your stock.
You betcha. So that would take a big run at it.
Another good practice, and maybe this isn't a good practice, this is a must, but we didn't talk about the USMC says make sure you spray your cuts. So with your system, you are supposed to spray, and you guys have a color matched paint spray for anytime you cut and expose the bare steel.
Yep.
And it's a perfect match.
Absolutely. Right? Now, if you run out you can buy the Tremclad stuff. It's not bad. It's close. It's not perfect.
Yep.
It'll do in a
Especially for
pinch.
very- It'll do in a pinch.
Yep.
But ours matches, and that's why I say a file. So every cut, just file it down. That's really to save your hands too, because you don't want sharp edges, depending on how good the blade is and whatnot. If you have an off cut or something like that, it's somewhat sharp. Use gloves, sure. You don't have to. I didn't use gloves most of the time. And
On your deck, how many cuts? How many cuts do you have in your hand? One cut.
It was
That's
one,
not bad.
and it was
Still got the finger?
my fault. No, yeah,
Bad cut. One really bad.
really, really bad.
It was a deep one.
So yeah, no, it's you need to pay attention to that. You have to file it, and if you make a cut, you touch it up. But Scott's right. I mean, how many people are you're supposed to do it on PT? You're
Yeah.
supposed to. How many guys are doing that?
That's again something that's
None.
common. That's-
So
that's
with steel,
familiar.
it's very important, I think, because you're exposing the raw metal.
Yeah.
So you could be given some rust down the road in those situations. You touch that up with the zinc-coated, powder-coated paint, you'll never have that.
Yeah. Which sometimes draws the question of what happens when you put the fasteners through. But we've asked this question to Scott from Precision Construction before, who's done tons and tons of steel framing. He says he's never seen, like, it's not, they don't rust out. Like
If you take the
fastener
screw
fills
out
a hole.
after
Sure.
2 or 3 years, you might see some rust around it, but
Expose
the screw
it, yeah.
itself, and it has a little cup system on the top. It's almost like it seals it,
Yeah.
you know, a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's right. I haven't seen any
Yeah.
at all.
Awesome. Well, this has been like, I love talking about steel because I think it is a revolutionary product and system that's come to the market that, you know, I love decking as a whole, but it's not every year that something game changing comes out.
Yeah.
But we've had a few good ones in the last couple of years. The new camo fasteners was one of them. And the fact that it works with this system is amazing. And I really, some Decorators products that have come out that have limited that expansion contraction. That's great too. You guys have your Apex decking that's come out, which is, I would say, arguably the most realistic stuff I've seen come across my desk.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
Yep.
And then, of course, the steel framing, I think, is like, finally. It's like, we've been waiting for this. Wade and I've been going to shows for years and being like, we need to get some sort of like metal framing in here, like aluminum or steel. And it's like, well, aluminum's insanely expensive. Steel's like, it's good, but it's like, you know, it's tricky.
Yep.
And it's scary to use. And it's like, you guys have addressed that like in droves. Like, it's not scary at all. It's super simple. I have confidence I could build one tomorrow without your help. Because I want to do it fast and your help.
Just would be yapping all the time, wouldn't be doing anything.
Yeah. Really listen to the without your help part. Don't offer. It's going to be weird if I have to say no thanks. So, anything else to add, Jason, to the end of this wonderful episode we've done here?
No, you guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for everything you guys do here. I know it's up and up. I think things are going to really take off. We're going to do wonders here.
Yep. Great product, great company, great rep. Jason's been awesome. He's very accessible for us. Anytime we have questions and problems and whatever else, we give him a shout. He's always there. So if you have any more questions, hit him up, hit up Fortress, or hit up us. Take it easy, everybody. See you next week.
Thank you.
UltimateDeckShop.com. Hit us right
wanted to
away
hit
for
the one.
sponsorships. So tell us if you want to collaborate. Let's go. Check us out on any social networks. Thank you for listening.